Agape Technique. Extract from Satsang 1. February 8, 2019. So, for the moment, there is no explanation. Simply, when I say that Agape works by itself, it works by itself. It works mostly without you. And the most difficult thing, but really, for everyone, is to understand and embrace that even when you do Agape with a brother or a sister, as we did last night, you do nothing. So of course, there are signals, that is, I feel at the perceptual level when things go very well or when the passage is delayed. How do I feel about that? It's not energy, it's not vibration as we know it, it's just something that happens here, in heart, and that I named the 3-beat rhythm. People are made to pass from the famous binary rhythm, inhaling, exhaling, the inexorable duality of this world, into a ternary mode. And that's very simple. That's why I can't talk about technique. It's not something to practice, it's something that simply initiates the process, and that will help you. So here, I'm going to give you the techniques that allow you, first of all, but then on someone else, to trigger this ternary movement. The resonator is the body. Remember what I said, the Agape resonance is neither nor vibration. This is the moment when you disappear. You will feel this famous rhythm that I called the waltz at 3 beats, or at 4 beats, at the level of the heart. It's something physical. You really have the impression that the heart starts to breathe in these moments. And what is happening here, in heart, is a kind of breathing that is in front of and around you, in that region. That's it, that's it. When Christ showed his glorious heart, that's exactly what it was. That is, in the representations you have, well, Christ on the cross, but also Christ who shows his heart. This is called the glorious heart. That is what we are experiencing now. That translates into everything we've explained in the last year. So, of course, it is not a state that will be permanent from the outset, except in rare exceptions. Remember, it's a face-to-face between the person, the being and the non-being, and that's the game you all experience, that we all experience, without exception. Because indeed, when you live Agape for a while, when you have lived it once, well if it moves away, because it fluctuates, you feel lonely, you feel very sad. But it is precisely this fire that has been called friction fire, which will allow, through your own questioning, your own frustration not to live it, that will trigger the process. That's what's wonderful about it. And all you have to do is use your body. So, for you, well, it's very simple. You put your hands like that, hands holding each other, in front of your heart, and you'll do it afterwards. What is also happening to the legs? There is something that amplifies what has been called the wave of life. You know, the two currents that rise in the legs, when you reunite them, you cross your ankles, no matter what the meaning, and if you cross your ankles like that, even sitting, with your hands like that, hands holding each other, in front of your heart, you have nothing to ask for, nothing to think about, the body puts itself in resonance all alone. There is no need to feel the energy, because even if you feel the energies, that you feel the crowns that are activated, the gates that are activated, the stars that are activated, you don't care, the important thing is not that. We are no longer in a vibratory process, we're in a process that puts an end to vibration. Since vibration is consciousness, and that, many people have not understood it, especially among all those who live energies and vibrations, it is that you can no longer rely on vibrations, nor on energy. Since it is precisely the cessation of energy, the cessation of vibration, that predisposes, prepares your consciousness for a consciousness, that is, for what is prior to consciousness. But if you are, when you do that, hoping, waiting, well, you plan, so you can't embrace. So there is no need to meditate to empty your mind, you make your body resonate and that's all. If you want, we built a scaffolding, with vibrations, gates, stars, but then, the scaffolding, when the rocket takes off, well the scaffolding it moves away. It has no use anymore. You see, there is no longer any need for support on either side. That is exactly what is happening. and the hardest part is to identify for each one the mechanism, which is identical for everyone, that allows to live this agape resonance. Well, in itself, already, this lightness, this inner and outer freedom that is more and more fascinating, really, but also to trigger it in the other, without wanting to trigger anything. I use the term resonance. Resonance, what is it? It's not something of, it's not like merging with the other. That is, it is not your consciousness that will merge into the other that merges into you. This has been experienced for years, for those who have been there for a long time. This is something else. That is to say, we are no longer a transmitter and a receiver, there is no longer one who makes and one who receives, since no one does. It is precisely the disappearance of the two people that reveals that you are not a person. That's right, agape. You have no way of getting there by effort, and from the moment you feel like you're making an effort, or from the moment you say to yourself, "Oh, I'm not there, I haven't experienced it," then you distance yourself. All the difficulty, it's there. It is in the behavioral and physical mechanism to which one must not be carried away by consciousness. The person is in embracing, that is, in this emptiness that allows the so-called transparency to be put into function. You have to remember that as soon as you expect something, there is necessarily a projection. Embracing, the word embracing, cannot be an expectation. Because it happens right now. When you are on standby, you are not on embrace. To embrace and wait is two completely different concepts and two positioning of consciousness and mind. But of course, we are all waiting for agape love. But the moment it happens, if you are waiting, you cannot embrace. That is the warning I am giving you for the practice you will be doing this morning. This practice, this one, it is done alone. So, I will give you afterwards, the second technique, which will allow, always through the body, before going on, tonight, to the agape resonance without gestures and without body, simply by disappearing. But I have to give you the technique, which is precise, which requires learning. That's why I didn't give it to diffusion, it's how to place your hands to trigger this 3-beat rhythm. The person is simply lying down, he doesn't even have to think about agape, she thinks about what he wants, who cares? But we must derive consciousness. She doesn't have to think I embrace agape or anything, in this case. Because now it goes through the body directly. We will replace this 2-beat rhythm with a 3-beat rhythm. 3 compression times, 3 release times. The important thing is that you master this gesture that I will show you. Remember, before you show yourself, put your hands on each side of your head. You will take the lead on the triangles of air and water. You place your hands on each side, on the temporal ones. What am I going to do once I have her temporal lobes in my hands? I'm sitting there and I'm going to press 3 times in a row. The important thing is not to press too hard the first time. And we impose a 3-beat rhythm. This 3-beat rhythm is, first of all, I have my hands open, first pressure, second pressure, third pressure. This is where you have to learn how to measure your pressure properly, to do all 3 beats. Because if you press too hard once, you won't be able to differentiate between the 3 beats. You have to take care of your hands, to know where they are placed. They are placed there. You do. Once, twice, 3 times. And the same, I stay supported, I release in 3 steps. So you release a little bit, and the third is just to press. Here, you will directly affect the person's identity. You will decouple, first of all, the person, the idea of being a person, because you move from binary to ternary, from 2 to 3, directly to the place where the ventricles are located, but also in the middle, what is called the thalamus, the reptilian brain, where the idea of being a person is based. You know that the idea of being a person is completely absurd. It's only related to this reptilian brain. There are products, I mentioned it, that can break the sense of identity. The only problem is that it doesn't last. There, you will induce something that, as soon as it is recognized by the patient, that is lying down, will automatically reproduce itself. The most important thing is really to learn this gesture. Your hands do not leave the contact. When you press the first time, you stay at the same pressure level before moving on to the second. I never said we should go back to zero. The hardest part is to press the first time lightly enough, to have enough space to press twice more. It's the palms of the hands that will press. Remember, energy, vibration and consciousness are not involved. You make the body resonate by this gesture, and then you induce breathing into the body. Of course it's against physiology, that's what I want. It means forcing the body, now that there is no longer a blockage on the throat chakra, even if there are people who still feel, so that the heart really merges with the head. And that's really how it works. So, with arms and legs straight, that's important. The ankles crossed or not. And you do this without any objective, you even forget that this is Agape subjective, without it, you will project. You simply make this movement without thinking. You can think of your family, your mother-in-law, whoever you want, once you have mastered the movement. That is, you pose delicately. You have your hands on your hands. Do not forget the pause between the third time of compression and the first time of decompression. So, now I'm sitting, but when I say sitting, it's very delicate, it's a touch. And then, first press, second press, third press, I maintain, not an hour, but, I release once, twice, 3 times. That is to say, at the third time of decompression, you will find yourself with your hands at the starting point, grazing your skull, pressing, but without support. And you do that for 5, 10, 15 minutes. You will feel, perhaps not from the beginning, but very quickly, that the brain and your hands are getting into the same rhythm. It's almost self-help. So this unlocks, if you will, both mental crystallizations, which are linked either to fears, or to a need to be in the future, or greed in any form. See if you can remove them, completely. So, time is not once, it can be 10 times, 20 times, but do not exceed a quarter of an hour, it is useless, it is better to try with other skulls. Because you'll see that the difference is in the skull, everyone has a different skull. I'm not talking about the shape, I'm talking about the movements of the skull. Hands, actually, you can put them like that. If I were lower, well, my hands would be a little different, that's okay. The main thing is that the palms of the hands are about facing each other, that is, I remind you, 2 fingertips above the top of ears, there you put your hands around, the hands behind can be in the neck. Question. For example, if a person is alone, can they do it on themselves? The head, no. But you can do this on your own, this gesture. Hands holding each other, in front of the heart, you obviously have the thumbs. I remind you that thumbs go very far. The meridian of the lung, the movement of the metal, the limit of form and incarnation. You joint both hands, you joint the fire. Not, flat, on the heart, not like that, not in prayer either, but like that. Hands holding each other. And there, you place your thumbs, meridian lung, on the body of radiation of the divine, and you will observe that spontaneously, they are where, your arms. They come to stay on the attraction doors, vision. This is the resonance of your body, which is independent of energy and independent of vibration. I explained it a few months ago, for those who had had the opportunity to listen to this Satsang, that I had observed that Agape was triggered when the body was strictly motionless. That is, when there was no longer what I had called proprioception. It is the perception of the body. When you put the body's perception to sleep, you make yourself available. But then, what we understood was that when we induced the resonance of the body by a movement, by a gesture or by this compression of the head, well, we induced the same rhythm, we induced this state of availability for Agape, whatever the energies and vibrations. So, of course, when you do that, you'll have some who will tell you, oh, I feel Mary descending, I feel a being of light descending. Yes, that's absolutely true, but who cares? It is only the manifestation of the information of the archetype, the vibration Mary, Michael, a friend, OMA, whoever you want, that can still manifest itself on the outside. You're going to be very happy. There's a presence there. No, you don't care. Presence is not the cause of what is happening, it is the consequence. That is, you're the one who triggered it. So this exercise, for me, from what we saw last time, is fundamental. Because you will release, without visions, without emotional or energetic or vibratory or other disturbances, everything that needs to be released. That is, you clean up, really and concretely, everything related to this notion of, what I call the 3 beat walls or the 4 beat walls, which is nothing more than the breathing of the heart. And that's a constant for everyone. That is to say, all the brothers and sisters who live in Agape in a more or less extensive way, I would say more extensive, describe this feeling. It is not energy, it is not the little hard kekra that rotates. Sometimes, we can actually feel the new Eucharist, the 3 points. You must have noticed that there are moments, there are still strong pains, especially on the kekras of the soul and the spirit, there, but no matter. When you do this, hands holding each other, in front of the heart, you replace the zero-time information of proprioception with the resonance of the body on zero-time at the heart. And you do the same thing when you do it for someone, like this. Palms covering ears. So this morning, it's imminently practical. So, don't forget that Agape operates as a network, in the true sense of the most common term, that is, a social network, like the internet. Simply that we are no longer in a binary matrix, we're in a ternary matrix. But now I understand why the elder, Omrayam, at the time, wanted us to go on the internet, when it was obvious that we would be noticed right away. Well, because it's the best way to disseminate zero-time information. There is no other way. We're not going to spend another 2,000 years with a guy who's going to be idolized somewhere and who's going to be taken for a savior of who knows what, when that's bullshit. And the advantage of social networks today, since there is no longer any primary anomaly, is that it spreads everywhere. And we create a social resonance, Agape. It's going to be drawings, Joe. Dorothy, she made us, she makes chocolates. Others will be chanting, singing. Simon, the guitar. Others, silence. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But that's exactly what's happening. And once again, it is really, truly, today, accessible to everyone. By Jean-Luc Young. Les Transformations. Transcription. Agape Team. English Translation. LMF.